So to get into the app that controls the GLD, it's called GLD Remote. If I hit that, notice how, if I hit my processing screen here, let me start with this. It kind of looks all the same. So you have that there. But let's do this first, since I had it in the background open. When I go and hit GLD Remote, it's going to ask, obviously the GLD is there. Just go ahead and hit Connect. Connect as admin, because our user profiles haven't been set up just
Right,
yet.
yeah.
And and I have full control.
Right.
Okay. So it's that simple. From the app, I can go ahead and mess with levels or change levels. I can change EQ, I can change compression. Anything you can do on the console, you can do on this.
Nice.
It just gives you a touchless or surfaceless control away from the actual unit itself.
How many devices can you link up to it?
I can have up to 2 of these. 2 iPads, so one, say, for front of house, another for, say, monitors when that situation arises.
Yeah.
Or actually, you could use it for monitors here, too.
Oh, okay. You can't give individual like monitor controls?
And then single iPads
I see.
for that. And, or single iOS devices for that. And there's a app which you could set up called, what is it? No, that's for Q, never mind. No, that's for that one. Oh, I didn't throw it on here. I'll send you the link for the inner monitor ones, so that way, as engineer who's mixing the venue, if someone's complaining about, hey, I need more of this and this, but you're really focusing on what the congregation is hearing, you can just give that to them, and they'll take care of it.
Okay.
Or the other route is to go with the ME, the ME1 personal monitoring systems.
Yeah, maybe a little bit later down the road. But, so I mean, because, you know, we intend to give one monitor to each person on stage,
Okay.
and just give them access on their phones to control their monitors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll send you the link for
Sounds good,
for that
yeah.
one. Yeah, because I basically had to reset this thing
That's okay.
back in the day. So getting around the console is very easy. Right about now, the way I have it is, you see how everything here is green. Okay, this has been set as your input channels. Okay. Your DCAs, think of them as groups, are listed in red, and your left-right main mix is in yellow. You can go ahead and change these colors however you want. Say, for example, if I want to do this, select, I can go ahead and touch up there, and notice how I can change that information. I can actually name the input, name the input, change the color, because sometimes color coding can help visually what's what. Okay? So that comes really easy. Let me just get out of here real quick. So now we have that. Within each channel, I can go ahead and adjust preamp, high pass filter, or basically taking the low end rumble out of a microphone. A gate, open and close as needed. Usually for those, I usually use it on drums, to be honest. I can change EQ and compression, and EQ and compression. So now, say if I wanted to change preamp. Let's go. I can either go into the tab there, right on the screen, and I have my preamp. Notice how my gain is changing there? So I could do it touching it from that there, or if I press that, I can go with that. Pretty easy, right? So that's more so with the gain. You can, if you ever have any condenser mics hooked in, notice how it says 48 volt right there? It says hold. So if I held it, it goes red, and it gauges the 48 volts for the condenser microphone.
Okay.
Obviously, that's something you don't want to accidentally pop in and out. That's why we require the hold. So for some pastors who use really sensitive condenser microphones,
Mhm.
something that's important. If you're doing like overhead microphones on drums,
Yeah.
you would use it for that also.
Like, so, a lot of our guys have limited experience with boards.
Okay.
And so it's also called like phantom power.
Yep.
Some mics require that extra, like almost battery power kind of thing. Yeah.
Yep. And I would really, judging from the size of the stage, you guys probably aren't using condenser microphones.
No, yeah.
But when you guys grow into it, know that you have that feature available there.
Sure.
Okay. I can also adjust my high pass filters. So if I select that, select, I can, if there's rumble on stage, I can go ahead and roll that off. So you're not getting any bass feedback from a vocalist microphone or any microphone at that point. Okay, so you do that. And then the next thing we can do is for gate. I really wouldn't be using this too much on speaking microphones. It's more so on instrument microphones and mostly on percussive equipment like drums. So don't worry too much about that. But we can always get into a class about gate actors. Okay. Then if we talk about EQ, we have a parametric style EQ. So obviously there's my gain. Okay. And let me just throw a couple here just so we know where they are. Okay, so we have that all there. Notice how it has a nice wide bell shape to it. But say, for example, we have a frequency that's giving us a lot of problems. I can go ahead and if I push in and turn, notice how it's getting thinner. That I can more so notch out that particular frequency. So if I push in and turn, I can find my way to notch. And then if I just turn it regularly, I determine what frequency is causing the problem. Usually in most cases, I always tell people, do it by ear. Your ear will tell you. So.
How stupid can I get with the questions? Like if I'm so
I'm here for
basically,
you.
like on our board, this is like the high, mid, low. That's
Exactly,
what
yeah,
it is, right?
yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to
Yeah.
just.
But
just
now we're
overall.
actually getting like a visual, what it would look like
Yeah,
in the
right,
studio
okay,
kind of
yeah,
setting
yeah.
too.
Yeah, and personally I like parametrics just because I can dial in specific frequencies versus a graphic. So it's all dependent on choice, you know. Some people like turkey bacon, other people like real bacon. It's just it's just how you choose to do it. Okay, so there's my EQ, and that's pretty straightforward as far as how to get in there. Getting into compression. Obviously compression, if say someone's spiking up a little too much, and great tone, but they just can't control their playing. So we need to compress them in a bit. So what I can do is, my outside would be my ratio, how much of a compression I'm doing. If I push in, how much of a gain I'm adding to make up for the compression. And then my threshold is how quickly does it engage. There can be settings for them, but like I always tell people, trust your judgment. You can hear when the compression's bad. You know, if you're squashing it too fast or not fast enough. So that's always going to be a play feature. One of the reasons why I got into music, even having an electrical engineer physics background, which basically says everything's all straight up. This is how it is. It's not changing. There's always a little play. There's always a side where, let me try this. Oh, that worked. Okay, let's go with that, even though it doesn't fall into traditional settings. Okay. For a delay, I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's more so for time aligning. You're looking at about a 4, maybe 5 foot difference between the instruments and the stage itself, or the sound system. I wouldn't really worry too much about it. More so if you have like the deeper rooms or deeper stages.
So this is not the effects processing delay?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay.
No. And I can go to routing. I can choose if how I want it to route to the effects from this side, or the auxes, the DCAs, or the direct outs.
And again, it might be, so DC is this is the speaker.
No.
Think of them as
it's a-
groups.
Think of them as groups.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So, say for example, if the drummer is getting a little too loud,
Okay.
well, aside from the actual volume they're creating,
Yeah.
it would be hard to get, say that you've had everything in a nice mix.
Right. Okay.
Hi-hats are at a good level, kick, snare is at a good level. But to pull all those down individually, you're going to lose your mix, right?
Right. Okay.
So in a DCA, what that'll do is it'll give you one fader. Whatever the levels are at, that becomes kind of like a master.
I see.
So it's like I'm pulling them all down together.
So it's like fixed.
Yeah.
All right.
So where they are in relations to each other is fixed,
Okay.
but my output's going to change dependent on
Okay.
that. Okay? So that's with routing. Actually, let's do this. Okay. Awesome. So what I was just doing was I was just paging through different layers. Okay. So let's go with this one because this one's pretty easy to understand. So on my first layer A, obviously I have inputs 1 through 12. But where are my other inputs? How can I get to them? If I switch over to layer B, notice how I change from 13 to 24. See, 25 to 36, so on and so forth. So think you could use the side as if I need to hit individual inputs. Say, for example, for some reason the guitarist is on channel 24. How do I go to change what his EQ and processing? If I'm on layer A, obviously I don't see that. But if I hit layer B, they're in 24 there. So what I could do now is hit select. And if I go into overview, there's everything for input 24. So I can go into my preamp, my gate, insert, parametric, compressor, delay, routing. So just the easiest way for me to explain it on if you're ever going to change processing on an individual channel or an output, just hit your select button. It's that simple. Whenever you hit select and that light's green, whatever's on this screen will represent what's happening to that particular channel. So right now I have 14 selected. If I flip over, obviously I don't have it because it's on a different layer, but it's still there. Kind of makes sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay. Now for, just write that down. Now to do your left-right mixes. Say, you notice how right here it says left-right? Notice how mix is highlighted. Okay. When this mix is highlighted, and I'm on my left-right mix, whatever volumes are on there, so yeah, I'll just use that arbitrarily. Okay, since we only have 24, so that's say the levels that I need to be in for my left-right. Okay. But say if I switched over to my effects mix, if I select this, notice how everything went down, both on A layer and B layer. So everything becomes send on fader right now, which means now that I have effects 1, reverb 1 selected, whatever's happening here is being sent to the effects processor. So say if reverb 1 was say for a guitar, and my guitar was only on channel 4. The only thing that's being sent to that reverb right now is channel 4. Nothing else. But that has nothing to do, remember how on my main left-right mix,
Okay.
it didn't affect anything there. So doing the whole mix on fader has been a very easy thing for people. They're not doing the hunt and peck like I was talking about before. You just go to my effects. Say if we want to do effects 4, which is a digital delay. You know, some people call it echo. Karaoke echo. So if I wanted, say, my background singers to have that digital delay effect, well, let's say, so right now I'm sending everything to digital delay. Nothing there, nothing there. But say we had 4 background singers and they're all here.
Right.
Okay? So these now are all being sent to the digital delay. So that's how I have effects to come through there. Pretty easy?
Yeah.
So, and remember how I was saying it doesn't affect anything else? Well, there's my guitar delay. Still the same way. If I flip over to my main mix, that's still the same. So that's a very useful tool.
Is there a way to set it up, let's say like a bypass all effects kind of a thing? Where with one button I can bypass all effects and just shut it off?
Oh, that's really easy. If you just come into here, here's my effects, right?
Yeah.
You want to turn off your effects? Mute, 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 mute.
Okay. Okay.
So that's pretty simple. Or if you wanted to set it up as a hotkey, you can.
Oh, all these ones?
Okay.
You could.
Oh, so are these just assignable to whatever we want them to do, pretty much?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
So I could do something like, say, Sunday Mass scene.
Okay.
Make that really easy for you. Or mute, or next scene. Or you can have it do whatever you want it to be.
Okay, cool.
Okay? But let's go through the mixing part first, and then we'll get into that later. So you see how everything's kind of set up there, right? You see all that? Okay. And this is being sent to there, and these returns are what's coming back into the main mix. So it's pretty straightforward. And those are groups. This is basically your standard setup. Let's say if I wanted to do a custom setup. That's one of the nice things about the digital mixers. You can lay out the console which way you want. Let's go into setup. So here we go into setup. Okay. Setup, and under the control tab, I have my strip assigned. Okay. Bank 1, right here. Bank 2, right over there. Layer A, layer B, C, and D. On my input side, layer A, inputs 1 through 12. B, 1 through 13 to 24. C, so on and so forth. But if you wanted to make it so that it was easy for you to work in, I'm gonna mess with this for a second. It's really easy to set up. Oh. Oh, where'd all those go? Okay. I always like having my master right here. Usually I'm right-handed, so that's the first thing my hand goes to. Second thing I like to do, personally, and this is my mixing style, I call that my money channel. Master channel. I always like to have him right there.
So that's easily always accessible.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, say, I also run monitors, so I want my monitor mixes to be easily accessible. Let's see, if I go into mix, okay, I can do, say, my aux 1 as, grab aux 1, monitor mix, aux 2, monitor mix, aux 3, monitor mix, aux 4, 5, okay, 5, and 6. I don't see you having that many monitor mixes on here because I'm pretty sure everyone in the back can hear each other.
Yeah.
But
We
if,
have 5, which is pretty still.
Yeah.
but in a large venue, I
Yeah.
just created this to work how I like to. You know, that's one of the nice things about digital consoles. You can do it that way. Because usually once I have a nice mix going to front of house, I really don't have to worry too much about what's going on, especially if the performers are top notch, or really great, really solid players. You can almost even have them on autopilot. But the things that I need to pay attention to the most, I can have it set up there.
So then, how many of these aux outs does the GLD handle? Like 8 or?
Yep, 8, 6 mono, 1 stereo.
Okay.
And you know, let me just bring this back to the way that we had it before. And I can go ahead and name these any which way that I want also. Okay, so we're back to normal. All right? Everyone get this so far? Okay. So, like I said, it's just all going to be based on how you have your show set up. Okay. Any questions so far?
So you know how like this thing has 12 outputs?
Mm-hmm.
When would we, let's say like if we were to use more than the 8 auxes, what would the other outputs could they be used for?
I could use them for matrix outputs.
Ah, yes, yes, yes.
Cryrums.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I could send a feed to say like a powered speaker in there. You know, do a matrix off the master. So basically it's basically copying off the master, but just giving them different control.
And then we can have a separate mix for that output as well that goes directly there, right? Okay.
Yep.
Nice.
So, so yeah, that's pretty, you know, you can run it off of that. Also with the flexibility of your in and outs, what you could do is, since this console's going to be there, say if you did your cry room, it doesn't really make sense to run a cable from this box, which is on stage,
Yeah.
and then run a long cable all the way to there. I could create one of the audio outputs in the back right here, on the back of the surface itself, and run that over.
Right, okay.
Okay. And how do we assign things, or how do we know where things are? So obviously on my D-Snake, arbitrarily 1 through 24, left, right, matrix 1, 2, and my auxes. Okay?
Okay.
There's no D-Snake expansion. I can basically just put another box on top of this if I needed more inputs. Surface and expansion. So on my surface, these are my inputs and outputs for my surface. And then that's if there isn't a expander box attached to here. I/O port in. So the I/O port ins, this is if you have your Dante card
Okay.
set up. So if I'm taking Dante from someone else, obviously that's going to be my in.
Mhm.
In this case, you're going to use it for recording,
Right.
so that's going to be your out.
Okay. And those we can like swap around if needed?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. And direct out for monitors.
So what's the difference between the direct out for monitors and the
Monitor mix. Okay. Direct out for monitors is if you're direct out for monitors. This is more of a recording situation.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I would be in this case. Your main concerns would be D-Snake. If you ever add an expansion, and the surface in and
Okay.
outs. And then when you get into your recording situation, obviously your I/O port,
Okay.
because the I/O port is where the card sits in.
Mhm.
Okay. Processing, kind of went through that. You also have a visual meters.
Nice.
The visual meters for every single thing that's in here, or every single input and input that's on here. Or if you want to see your meters for your effects, the meters for your different mixes, and custom. So with the customs, you can always create them as you need. It's just like say the important stuff you want to see, you can create those yourself. And the RTA is if you ever want to ring your room out to find the frequency problems. I can already tell, not just because my ears are trained, but in the construction of the room, you will find about 250 hertz to be very reverberant in here. So if you're ever playing and you'll see 250 just pinned up or just spiking a lot higher than everyone else or at any other frequency. So you just bring that down.
Okay.
Okay?
How do we bring it down?
Okay. So for example, that's my output, right? And say I know 250 hertz is my issue. So if I go into select, that's on my master. If I go into select, processing, here's my processing for my output.
Okay.
I can do parametric. I can do graphic. So for example, I know that 250 is getting a little wonky. So there's 250. I can notch that down. Or that's if I'm in a graphic. If I'm in a parametric, what I can do is I just need to select that, turn that to 250. Close enough. I want to go narrow and drop.
And that can be controlled by
Yeah,
those knobs there too.
That could be here also.
Okay.
So from the meters option, you can it's only to see it, right? That you can't edit from that
Yep.
that option. Okay.
It's
So
just
and
to
then you
see.
just have to find which one and
Yep.
okay.
So inputs, effects, mix, and create as I go along. As far as effects goes, you have up to 8 effects processing units that you could use on here. It's going to be more than you need.
Yeah.
I've run major shows, and to be quite honest, I never used more than 4, and that's major shows. So, but it's nice to have that flexibility there. So, for example, yep, that's okay. So I'm on effects 1. So in this case, if I wanted to change my settings, okay. Sorry, just trying to do this from
That's okay.
upside down. So I can go into my back panel, see how everything's routed, make sure if they're routed correctly. I always do things as input is a mono effects bus, and then my return is coming to the mix into the return. If I want to pick up settings from there, so we go into back panel, hit library. So within this, I can do reverbs, stereo tap delay, bucket brigade, echoes, model and ADT, chorus, effects, flanger. You have a bunch to play with. For anyone who's musically inclined, I'm pretty sure you've used most of these in guitar pedals or just messing around with vocals. You have all that there. And within each, I can go ahead and change them. Okay? Say I like that. Say I want to do the multi-4 band compressor and use the keys helper. In order to call that up, hit recall. Yep, and there it is. So I can go ahead and change anything that I want. Say in this case, if I want to do a gated verb as effects number 2, I can choose, and we're using a gated verb on drums. I want it to sound big. Hit recall. And then just flip this over.
So back panel is where you can choose.
Oh, actually it's right there too.
Oh, okay, library. What's the back panel for then?
If you're going to do funky routing,
Oh, I see.
which I really don't see you guys
Yeah.
doing, but it's more of a option if you ever get to that point. So for example, yeah, chorus, symphonic chorus reverb, kind of like that. Or I can actually go in and change things there. So you have a lot of flexibility within each effects. So how you would have messed around with the actual analog piece, by tweaking with knobs, you can still do the same thing. You just touch, turn.
Well, our board, we only have one reverb and one reverb level button.
You got more toys.
Yeah.
So, and the routing of the effects and we went over the routing of the effects, which was pretty easy. Just coming down to your effects page, I have 4 there for routing it into, what is that, number 3? Effects level 3, correct? Hit mix, then whatever's on my input, I just send to it.
Okay, so there was 8, potentially up to 8 effects that we can use,
Mhm.
and this one, so these are the 8 effects.
Oh no, this is, right now I only have 4 showing
Okay, and we would have to change that in
in the setup menu,
okay.
so right in there.
Okay.
If we come into effects, yeah, you see how you have the 8 effects there?
Yes.
You just drop them into your layer
Okay.
as needed.
Okay.
They were smart in just doing the, this is the master template that came with the console. It's always a nice thing to go back to. And in most cases, yeah, you wouldn't really need more than 4.
Right.
You guys are coming from 1.
Yeah.
So, that's nice.
Making my goal to use all 8.
You're better than
I was kidding.
All right. So we did that. I don't have to worry about gagging. Went through the setup. I think one of the things that is important is scenes for you guys. So what you could do is you could always save your scenes. Say, for example, we kind of got everybody on a nice level while during rehearsals, and we want to use it again for that day or for
The service,
for the next for the service that's happening, say 2 days from now. Okay, so what we can always do is, okay, so that's GLD reset. So yeah, that's the master template there. Okay, so if I wanted to store it, say I'll copy
Morning.
that. Okay, so say we were working in GLD reset to start up the as a base level for creating your scene. So I have everything that I need there. I can go ahead and copy. Press number 3, which is open. I can name it. Okay. Say we do. I'm just gonna do this as an example. You can of course go ahead and delete this or add on to it, change it. I'm just going to use the initials S.
It's hard backwards.
Yeah. Okay, so I called it Sunday service. I hit apply. Okay, so now it's called that, and I hit store. Are you sure? Yes. So right now, I have a scene called Sunday service. Okay. Say if I came in next week, hey, we like that. We like the settings that we saved. In order to pull that up, I just go, I hit that. Recall. Yes. Now the console is set to how it was. And that's all you need.
So we'll be using that
It
also.
saves all the settings for all the effects, all the volumes.
Exactly. Yep. So, and like I said, the thing that's nice about it, it's always a starting point. It's always nice because, say, if someone messes it up, you can go ahead and reset it. Yeah, I always say store your show files and scenes to USB key. Have a couple of those lying around just in case.
Yeah. How can we do that?
So for example, scenes. Scene manager, cue lists, okay. Okay, so there's my template, right? It's a show. Now there could be several different scenes within a show. Yeah, there we go.
Oh,
So obviously there's a show there. Say you want to copy this template, because I can always name those. Copy to USB. Now it's on the key.
Cool.
Now if I wanted to, say if I did something, say like on, I went home and worked on GLD editor on my laptop.
Oh, okay.
There is an offline program, so you
Nice.
can build your own scenes. I'll give you the link for that one.
Yeah.
Say if I did something on there, it's like, hey, everything looks good, let me use it on this, this Sunday's service. I can, once I have the show saved into there, I can highlight this and copy it over to the GLD. Or I can load directly from the USB stick. So, gotta love that kind of flexibility. That's pretty much it for scenes. And each scene falls under a show template.
Okay. How do we open up the templates again?
Okay, so, oh, that's right. Oops. Okay. So to open up a template. Oh, I'm already there. Never mind. Let's come back here. Processing, setup. So, say if I want to do that. Recall.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Okay, so that show template was basically everything as it came from the factory. Notice how it says, do you want to make changes to the console? A lot of it was because that's when it had all the different settings for the different mixes. By just hitting that, selecting the template and hitting a recall, what that does is it brings it back. Okay. Now that I have this in here, I can go into, okay, now under this show under this show file, I have these scenes, okay? So I can go ahead and create my own scenes. Sunday, youth group scene, Sunday service scene, bingo night. I can add, hey, some churches have bingo night. So I can use those as scene and just do them as easy recalls. So I don't have to remember, oh wait, who's here today? Do we have drums today or not? You can just recall them and it becomes easy. So in this case, if I want to do the GLD reset, hit recall, yes. Now it's back to factory. So it just kind of depends on how you want to set it up for your mix. But just remember, show files is the overall setup, and then scenes are individual events.
Right, okay.
So when you save to the drive, you always save the show file, and then when you save the show file, it saves the scenes
Within this.
within that. So it's like, think about it as a big folder.
Right, okay.
That's pretty much it with that. And yeah, you're not behaving. Any questions or things?
It's okay.
What's with that talk button? What's the talk button on
Oh,
the,
talkback. Talk button is if I want to do a talkback. So
from like sitting back in the board? And,
sitting back at
to
the
the-
board and going up onto stage.
okay.
It's being able to talk to the band.
Mhm.
without the audience here.
If they had like individual like things, the
Or if they have the
earpieces.
in-floor monitors.
Oh,
Okay. So they'll hear you up there.
right.
So I have to be like, hey, stop playing for a second. I was just talking to that.
Stop playing.
It's like, hey, bassist, could you stop playing? It would be kind of embarrassing if the congregation heard that. So you can secretly talk back to the stage that way. You're already like thinking of situations. Aren't you?
Too many.
So why 2 USBs?
Okay, one's for playback,
Mm,
one's for record.
okay.
Okay, so let's come back here.
What was that? Bills? A leaf.
Okay. So for USB audio, the top one is for playback. The bottom one is for record. Okay. You can actually play directly off the USB stick into the console. It's going to show up as yep. No.
USB.
Yep. Yeah, USB. So it's going to show up right here.
Mm, okay.
Channel 40, 46,
47.
47, 48. Yep, 47, 48.
Okay. And the way we have our audio playback right now, we have our computer.
Okay.
Or we have a HDMI router.
Okay.
And that's got an audio output, like
Okay.
regular RCA outputs.
Okay.
So whatever is inputted, every time we switch that, it'll switch to that.
Okay.
Can we connect that to the back here?
Yeah.
So it has to be the.
Oh, either 45, 46, or 47, 48.
Well, in this case, right now, the USB playback right here is set to 47, 48.
Okay.
You can change that.
Yeah, but that's fine. So then we would just plug it into these two.
Yep.
Okay.
And then what I would probably do, since I can do the custom layers,
Yeah.
I'd probably bring that closer to the upper layers,
Mhm.
than all the way at the bottom.
Okay.
So I could literally have it right next to say, I could make it show up there,
Mm.
instead of having to be all the way down there.
Right.
So in essence, all I'm doing is playing between this layer and that layer,
Okay.
instead of dropping onto there.
Mm.
But yeah, you can arrange it whichever you want, but yes, it's signal flow. Now don't worry, like some of this stuff can be a little daunting, but the more you work with it, the easier it gets, as with anything, really.
Actually, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just I came like in the middle, so I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Scenes.
So it seems like, if I'm guessing right, the soft key is set to tap tempo for the
One of the
effects
effects.
right now, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, you know what, let's go into soft keys.
Yeah.
So what I could do is come into control. Okay, notice how it says soft keys number 1. Okay, so there's my soft keys. So in this case, I can make soft key 1. What do I want it to do? Do I want it to mute? Or do I want to, I can actually choose what I want it to do. Obviously, unassigned, it's not going to do anything. Under mute, basically, whenever I press that button, whatever's assigned to it is going to get muted. I can use it as a hot select. I can use it as a hot mix. I can use it as a hot PFAL. So basically, if I had it assigned, let's step a little further. So if I wanted to do a pre-fade listen, and in particular, I want to do it on an input, channel 1, aka money channel, aka pastor's channel. So once I have it, if I hit apply, once I hit this button in my headphones, I'm going to hear Bill's specifically. Now remember, you can always set this up any which way you want. Looks like Pastor knows what he's doing, so we don't have to do that.
That's what this is? The
PAFL.
Okay.
Pre or after fade listen
Okay.
for input. What?
Okay. Can you have it for multiple inputs as well?
At that point, I'd be doing a group or a DCA.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I would do pre-fade input, And then say if I wanted to do it on the whole drum DCA.
Right.
I always like to use drums because usually drums is more than one input.
Right.
So think of it as a group.
Right.
And if I did my drums on DCA 1, I hit that, then in here I hear nothing but everything that's in the drum DCA. What else can I do with this? Clear it, select. I can do scene recalls, which makes it easy for you guys, right? You know, just put a little tape here, Sunday Mass recall.
Right.
So if I want to do a scene recall, let's do that. And obviously there's my scene list. What else can I do? Next, previous, go, that's if you have multiple scenes. I usually do something like that, say if I'm doing a band set, a performance band, they'll do a number of different songs, but their settings for each song is different. So what I could have is a scene for each song that they do. When I have them in scene, scene next, previous, and go, obviously, anytime I hit that button, I'm automatically switching over to the next scene. So everything becomes nice in one button at that. I can do tap tempo. I can do MIDI if I needed to. So you kind of see where I can even do it as level up or talk back side. Like say, you know, the guys aren't listening. You know, obviously my talkback button's here, but I could just hit that. It just, once again, it's custom. You can assign it any which way you want to. Group, mono, aux, so I can choose whatever I want to set this to.
I think for us, it'd probably be like setting the scenes where everything turns off, everything turns
Yeah.
on, and then maybe
Mute for like the
if effects mute.
Okay. So yeah, if I was to do an effects mute, for an example, I would just select mute. What kind of group is it? Okay, so just mute all effects coming back. So obviously that's my effects return. I hit that. Okay, now which effects return? Is it 1 all the way to 8?
What if we wanted to do it where we just want to mute the effect for the lead singer, lead singer's vocal?
Okay.
Because if he's not singing and in between, like they want to say something or lead a prayer, but we don't want like a whole bunch of echo trails on that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what I could do is I can do an effects, that's a mute effects send, generally mono.
Then channel.
Which is,
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Right.
Okay.
So because we're sending that signal to the effect and we want to cut that off, that's
Yep.
why, okay.
Yep. Pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah.
But he could be, say, just talking without effects, but the background vocalists still have
Exactly, yeah.
effects going on.
Yeah,
So
and the
you-
instruments and whatnot, yeah.
Yep, you could have it that way. Don't you just love the flexibility?
Yeah, man.
So yeah, I can cancel. So you see how I can set these up to be whatever. You know, for example, I had one on here for another church. You know, I call it emergency page.
Uh-huh.
So if there were ever an emergency, they just hit that button. The talkback goes everywhere in the campus.
Oh, wow, okay.
You know, like everybody needs to leave.
Yeah.
We have a fire. So you see where the flexibility comes
Yeah.
in with this one. And it's just going to take a little time for you guys to get comfortable. I highly suggest playing with it. You know, before I leave, I will leave you my card with, well, you have my cell phone number,
Yeah.
so you can get that, or if you want to shoot me an email or anything, you'll have that too. Any questions, concerns?
When we do install the Dante card
Mhm.
and we're recording to the computer, will it send, or can we choose if it sends the mixed signal or just the dry signal straight in? How does it work?
You can choose.
Okay, where would or is it possible to do that right now without the card installed?
All I know is it's done in here, IO port. So that's that. And yeah, it's going to be within the software
Okay.
of what you can actually pick and choose what you want to grab. You want to grab Because obviously if you want a wet-dry mix,
Mhm.
your direct out would obviously be your dry, and your effects return would be the wet.
I see. Okay. Because like even like with the EQ and everything off, I just want to just record like bone dry to
Yeah.
mix later on.
Yep.
Okay.
At that point, it would be PFA. Pre-fade
Okay.
PFAL.
Okay.
So you won't have anything going on.
Just a dry
recording.
signal then. Okay. And once we install it, I'll have the option to be able to choose that for. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yep. And just to give you a heads up, I just live in Bellflower, so. Remember when I said I live close to you?
What's this?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna.
Okay.
Graphic EQ fader flip.
Okay, so graphic EQ fader flip. So let's get back here. Processing. Let's me select an output. Oops, no.
Whoa.
Flying faders. So
Click, 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 click.
okay. So there's my graphic there. Okay. Obviously, if I want to do that, and I need to change it, yeah, that's a few button steps in order to do it. Or I can go GEQ fader flip.
Oh.
Where the faders.
Represent.
Or the
So
EQ.
like it's like an EQ basically.
Yep.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So that like. I see. And if we wanted to get to these upper ones, do I?
If I remember correctly, it's. Is it? Nope.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. First,
That's the
so 0 or
Oh,
20
okay,
to
okay.
1K. Second would be 500 to.
Okay.
So
Nice.
2 button presses to
Mhm.
come into the upper layers. So if you want that visual graphic, you can. If you went with the, if I remember correctly, if you went with the 112, you could have gone full across.
Yeah.
And notice how the main's still there, so you can still mess around with your EQ and just be like, oh, nope, that's too loud, let me drop that.
Mhm.
Mm. And then these guys, the safes. Like
Okay. Safes and freeze and layers. So I'm gonna start off with freeze and layers. So in freeze and layers, if you want that one channel to just stay visible no matter what layer you're in,
Mhm.
that's called freezing. That's called freezing that channel within a layer.
Okay.
Quite honestly, I don't see you guys using much of it,
Okay.
especially when you can configure it into
Yeah.
the layout. This is more that I know I've used, especially when I'm mixing on the fly per se. You know, oh, there's this guy. Ooh, he's kind of important. You know what? Let me just freeze that in this layer,
I see.
just in case. So no matter what, I'm going to always have that channel available. Like say if I wanted to say, yeah, if I wanted to have this to show up consistently, channel 1 show up consistent and be here, if I wanted to be on layer A, B, C, or D. That's if I want to do something like that. But to me, that can always I don't have to worry about it, especially if I created my own layer.
Right. Yeah.
That would confuse me.
Yeah, don't worry about it. One thing I've learned about mixing in general, the acronym KISS applies.
What up?
Ninja.
You know, the acronym Keep It Simple.
Stupid.
I'm standing in the house of God. I'm trying not to use language like that.
You say it all the time. Yeah.
But you get my drift.
Yes.
The simpler you keep it, the less trouble you can get yourself into.
Okay. Cool.
And then safes is also the same thing. It's like when you're switching over from scene to scene, but you don't want these particular channels to change in volume. You can have that as a safe.
I see.
Once again, I don't see you guys using that so much.
If we were to do it, I'm assuming that you hold on to it and select
Yep.
that channel that you want to. Okay.
Yep. You watched the video, didn't you?
He's watched it 3 times over.
I'll tell you a little secret, and which baffles a lot of people. So my company became the reps for Allen and Heath about 1.5 years ago. Actually, October 2015. And what's funny is when I was like, okay, so obviously I'm gonna have to do trainings or anything like that. Do I said, how can I get fully trained? Don't worry, just watch the videos. I was like, really? They're like, yeah, watch the videos. All right, cool. I watched the videos. I'm like, oh, I guess they are right. Because literally 2 days after I finished watching the videos, I did my first GLD tech support.
Nice.
And it was from a church. It was from a church that bought the console from the East Coast, so that means it wasn't any of my dealers. Obviously, no one from the East Coast is going to try to support someone on the West Coast.
Right.
I was like, look, so I figured I represent the manufacturer, I might as well help them out. Or that would be the right thing to do, actually. So I was like, hey, I can't make it out there. I'm stuck in San Diego for a few days. Send me your file. Send me your show file. So they sent me the show file. So I was looking on there. I was like, oh, that's your problem. Corrected it on my computer. Emailed the file back. Try this on your next service. By the way, you had automatic mic mixing on. That's what the problem was. They tried it on that following service. They're like, no problems. Haven't had a problem since.
Cool.
So, yeah, the videos definitely help. And then when we get into the super intricate stuff, that's where I'm saying, give me a buzz, because stuff like that information like that isn't going to be readily available.
Right.
It's only if you've ran into it that you'll understand what the problem is. Any other questions?
I have one, but I've lost it.
Don't worry. We have brain farts all the time. I'm the king of them, actually.
Oh, yes. So when we have those iOS devices connected, how do I assign that, the limit?